As we continue our countdown to Mike Cecilia's industry keynote, we're here with Bob Evans, Accelerator Economy's co-founder and analyst. Bob, always good to have you on Oracle TV.
Thank you, Fritz. Good to be with you, Kendall.
Yeah, good to have you on.
Yeah, it's like 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
but we go
like
way
that.
back, so it feels like old home here on the.
Yeah.
Bob and I also go way back.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to talk about that after. All right.
Yeah, beyond just this world. So, just letting you know, I'm closer with him.
CloudWorld and other worlds,
Yeah.
apparently. So what have been some of the top highlights for you so far this week?
Well, Fritz, you mentioned that the thing I work on is called Cloud Wars, and I'm a little worried. Your chief technology officer, he's bringing peace to the cloud.
Yeah.
And he's making friends.
I know.
What am I going to do?
What are you going to talk about?
Yeah.
All that.
Now, Fritz, Kendall, I just thought, about this. There's a vested interest in it for everybody. I get that, but it would have taken just not only a brilliant vision, but somebody who's persuasive. If you had said 2 years ago, middle of 2024, these Oracle and these three companies will be working together very smoothly, I think people would have said you're crazy. But I think that's what Larry Ellison has always been drawn to. Somebody call it crazy, I'll go take care of it.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is, I don't know if you remember this, but several years ago, you told me that Larry seems to always be thinking several years ahead. And but I don't know if you would have envisioned this, though.
Heck no, certainly not. But the other thing, it's also just, on the earnings call Monday, he's talking about something, and all he says, oh yeah, he said the building plans for this new gigawatt plus data center, it includes 3 nuclear reactors.
Right.
And he just said it like, oh, we're going to have a new type of air conditioning.
We're going to have shoes without shoelaces.
Yeah. Super chill about it.
and another point in there, he said, oh, this little side project I'm working on, we're collecting slides to identify different sorts of cancer so we can cure cancer more quickly. I mean, he says it like it's, a hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess, Kendall and Fritz, one thing that, your company's been on a roll, and you're almost pulling away the ability to surprise people because you do it so regularly. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, we are gearing up here for Mike Cecilia's keynote, which will undoubtedly come with even more excitement and announcements. But the concept of industry clouds, or as we call it, industry suites, you were one of the early pioneers of the term industry clouds, and even you had a separate CloudWorld's top 10 vendor list on the topic. How has the concept evolved and why?
Kendall, early on, of course, technology was just used in isolated places around a business, but now we see it moving through every single part of the business, every sort of process, and these horizontal tools, which are great, the sort of classic applications, couldn't go into that sort of depth. So the industry clouds came up because more technology in more places doing more stuff, and it becomes mission critical. And as Michael has talked about, it's not something out on the fringe. This is core operating technology. And a lot of the customers who use this that I've talked to, they said they never want to go back to something that's more one size fits all.
Makes sense. Oracle has actually always been kind of this firm believer in industry clouds should not come in a predefined or prepackaged bundle. Customers really need they need to fit their unique needs, right? Can you give us your thoughts on this and how this pertains to industry clouds?
Yeah, and I know, Kendall, along those lines, some people say, well, if I buy, an Oracle Industry Cloud suite and my competitor does, then I can't be differentiated. But I think that diminishes the importance of, leadership, human evolution, or human innovation, not evolution, because these are tools that people can use, but it also takes vision, ideas, leadership, breaking into new markets, how you use those, how you create the better customer experiences. So the end-to-end suite, though, idea that Steve Miranda has championed and so many customers are enjoying now, it's starting to take root in the industry areas as well, because all those functions in a company are interconnected, the flow of data. So I think it's going to hit home there very heavily.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, we've heard a lot of people talk about, the integration part taking up so much time. Get technology out of my way and let me do the thing, right?
Right.
So It sounds like you're saying the same thing, that people are looking for these things to just work together.
Yeah, yeah. Fritz, I wish that somebody would come up with a metric that would measure in a company, right? A CEO would love to see how many people in my company, or what percentage of people in my company are using technology to no longer have to do this sort of low-value grunt work. How are we using technology to unleash people's full potential? And is that touching 10% of the people in the company, or 50, or how do you get up to 80, 90, 100%? And I just think that's the brilliant promise of what's coming here.
And how do you think the fast emergence of generative AI is changing that dynamic?
Yeah, well, Kendall, a year ago, right, everybody was saying, oh, isn't it cool, isn't it wild, I might run a test or so. Well, so many people here are doing real live production
that was
projects.
Steve's keynote was all about it, right?
Yeah, it is happening. And then what Steve was promising too is it's going to just keep flowing every quarter, more and more of that happening. The agent stuff coming in now, he talks about they're autonomous, they are highly in context. So the stuff that seemed science fiction-y a couple years ago is really happening.
Yeah, as we keep saying, we are in the future.
Speaking of the future, we've been in the high up in the top 10 of your industry cloud list. As you look at the future of that list, not just who's on it, but what's going to define who moves up? What are some of those things you'll be looking for?
The overall size or revenue to me is a big indicator, not because it says something about a particular company, but it says something about customer demand. Where are people investing? Who are they picking? But I think, Fritz, the big thing I go with there is who is applying technology to the needs that customers have. And that might seem terribly obvious, but in the early days of the cloud and the industry clouds, a lot of the vendors were saying, buy my stuff because this is what I happen to have.
Right.
And it was not necessarily tied to what businesses were doing or where they had evolved. So I think the tech companies like Oracle and others have really closed that gap between this just happens to be what we got on the shelf to we are mapping your needs for today and building your solutions for tomorrow. So that would be a huge factor.
That requires some listening. So often in the past, I've heard companies try to, well, don't you have this need? Don't you have this problem? Because I have a solution.
Yeah.
You don't, right?
Or they'll just say, like you said, they're just not listening, and they keep coming back with the same thing. And I think the customers after are saying, what planet are you from?
Yeah, exactly.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said, we're headed into Mike's keynote. I know you had the chance to sit down with Mike on Monday. What are you most excited about to hear from his keynote today?
I just think, part of what's so exciting about what Mike talks about externally and internally. Externally is these are simple to consume. They fit with other things Oracle's doing. They fit with what these companies are already doing and pave the way into the future. And internally, for Oracle, the way Mike says, these core building blocks of technology we're using, we're able to now take that core and spread those across the different industries and then build custom things on top of that. So more innovation for more businesses more quickly. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I have any inside information, but I think we're going to see some of that.
I think we just might. Well, thank you so much, Bob.
Kendall, Fritz, great to see you. Thank you for letting me be in your world here.
We love having you in our
it.
world. We love having you in our world.